Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabadis of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of JBizTechValley.com and statewide news service, Mark. And we have two very, very special guests with us today. So Chris Sagaas, he's with the main branch of the Albany Public Library. You're the main man,
Yes.
the main thing, and Carol Nersinger, executive director of the whole Albany Public. Well, welcome now that, we could say that we're in the Albany Public Library when
Yes,
we're
you
filming
are.
this, so therefore, you're not our guest, you're our host, so maybe we can say that. We have to turn it around a little bit. But in any case, welcome to the Jewish View.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you
It was
so much for having us.
So nice to meet you both, and we
well.
have so much to talk about. I'm so excited. We're going to have an exciting show
Do
here.
they have a good book for you to
We
read?
have so good. I was reading.
Maybe a book review would be good too over here.
The library has so many offerings that most people don't know about. And I wanted you to touch on some of them, if you could, of the lesser known things that you do.
Right, well, that's a great point. When you say libraries, you think about books. And certainly we have thousands of books and DVDs and all kinds of collections. But one of the things that people may not be aware of is all the different services that we provide, especially when you look at all the programming and the things that are happening at our 7 branches within the city. People may not even be aware that we have 7 buildings as part of Albany Public Library.
And they were all recently renovated.
Yes, except we're still working on the main building, the building that we are talking from.
You took care of the children first, and
Yes,
now you deal
yes,
with the parents.
and it is wonderful to have the buildings that are neighborhood community centers.
Yes, they are.
And if you've ever been in any of our branches, you will see that they are all different and that they reflect the community. But if you could grab the program brochure, if you go to our website, first of all, we have a beautiful program brochure that comes out quarterly that tells you of many of the things that are going on in our branches.
Can you mail these out to residents?
Well, that would be very, very expensive, so we have the print in the building. And also, if you go online, that brochure is available at
Great.
albanypubliclibrary.org.
Okay.
And one of our new services that you may not be aware of, and I wish I had my phone, but I didn't want it to ring, but we have an app. An Albany Public Library app, and it's the OWL, and I am not a techie, but I love it. It's so easy to use.
Absolutely.
So if you don't even have the time to come
Right.
to one of our buildings, you could go online, and there are so many books, like things that you could download onto Kindle, books,
E-books and e-magazines, right.
absolutely, magazines, the Zinio magazine services
Now,
that we have.
What about, you also do income tax preparation assistance?
Well, that's why we have Chris Sagaas here.
Why,
who
does he do
is-
the assistance?
He's going to do your taxes.
Yeah,
No.
I try not to get in the way, but we do provide, this year we actually have an additional location of our branch. We provide we're basically a host site for community volunteers to come in and prepare low-income tax returns for people who make $52,000 or less in household income. So the IRS provides training, hardware, promotional money. We work with the United Way and the Cash Coalition. We work with AARP in Albany. We work with an IRS employee
How
who
long
has
have you been doing this for?
at least, I think, over 20 years we've been doing it
And how
here.
many people have you seen? I mean, you haven't been here 20 years. You're
I have
barely
not.
20.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, thank you.
but do you have but how many people approximately do you serve per year?
In the last year, we saw over 1,600 people take advantage of the service. It returned over $2 million.
I mean, just
to
think about it,
taxpayers.
$2 million of returns
That's
that
wonderful.
came back to the community. I mean, that's a lot when you think of the income level
Yes.
is low. It's a tremendous,
And you also help people with job search and skills?
Sure. We have, at the main library here, we actually have a dedicated computer lab. Right now, it focuses on open lab, one-on-one assistance. We have people who come in who want to apply for a job and they don't even have.
Is this the main library
The main
only,
library.
or all of the branches can do this?
The teaching lab is here. All of the branches have public computing access in public spaces, and the staff at the library can assist with the same type of stuff. However, they aren't always able to provide that one-on-one assistance that we do here, and we do it here through a combination of our staff. We have SUNY undergrads who come in for community service time. We have library school interns who come in and they're the one-on-one assister with people who don't have skills. We're looking to expand classes. The Bach branch has a very active senior computer class program that's going on right now. There's actually a wait list.
And Pine Hills, what do they?
Pine Hills has classes as well. All of our locations have what we think of as the traditional PC instruction work, but we have kind of an extra focus on the job skills
Now,
here.
I noticed on the second floor of the main library, you dedicated the children's room for Mayor Jennings.
Yes, and I think, well, it is the very...
Because there's a connection between children and Jennings?
Well, I think, and it precedes,
he
both of us.
Oh, he was a vice principal of the high school,
Yes.
so he has the connection with children, not that he's a child. Okay.
Well, and the Tulip Queen, there's
Right.
the Tulip Queen reading room, which is a little bit down the hall, and
I
the Tulip
see.
Queen the Tulip Queen always focuses on literacy. And
Now, you
getting
should have
children
gotten
to
a
read.
donation from Mayor Jennings when you dedicated the room to him. Everyone gets their name up there, they got to pay something for it.
I don't,
Probably you must have got the funding for the library.
before we rechartered,
I
that's
think
what we got.
that's what
That's
it
what I
got
is,
a lot of
that the city gave us money.
Yes.
I would imagine when we did the massive upgrade back in 1999
Yep.
is probably when it happened. That
Yes.
predates both Chris and I.
Yes.
Well,
I think it's important because, I just want to focus into our viewers because, you want to make the city better and more livable, but, it's a very nice pie-in-the-sky idea, but how do you do it? And really, this was, to me, the smartest move, making the libraries and also together there with the schools, renovating, like you say, everybody could see it, that they're renovating all the libraries. So if you want children and you want the middle class and people for literacy, so they're not dropouts, that they, that's the way to go. It was just a very smart move just to make the city a lot, livable, if you want to say that, for your middle income or upper middle, whatever, for the upper middle income libraries and schools. And people are always interested in that. That's for their children. You say children's room. That's making a city more livable. You talk, in big pie in the sky ideas, we want to make our city better. Very nice, but how do you do it? And I just, on another note, because I don't know all the 7 branches, maybe Mark does
I do.
over here, but,
I do.
it's near the synagogue is the Bach library on New Scotland Avenue, and I know there, and so I know more about them than any of the others, even though I guess I'm here broadcasting. But they have a very much focus, because it is, if you can say, the central Jewish community. It's not New York City, but whatever the Jewish community is there, and they do a lot of different programming geared towards the Jewish people. So it's very not just here's your book and your classic book, but I can attest that they tune in programming to the community around them. There's a program on Kristallnacht, not to get into that, explaining to everybody. Again, we had actually a few shows on Kristallnacht, but again, very Jewish-oriented ideas for the community. So, I can attest to seeing that from my point of view, that the library is gearing up for the neighborhoods.
And I wanted to ask Carol, how long have you been executive director, and where did you come from before you came here?
4.5 years I've been here. I came in the middle of our big branch improvement plan, so it was a very exciting time to come because we got to open 5 beautiful, renovated, in some cases brand new buildings. So that was exciting. I mean, that's one step, is building the building, and then after you open the doors, now you I talked a little bit about some of the programming that's going on, because now we have community meeting rooms where we do a lot of these things, including very eclectic things like music, or you can come and take a yoga class, or learn about, have a book review, find out how to get your credit report, learn how to speak English. I mean, there's so many different things that are going on. And so that's been, that's when we've been focusing on is how do we use the buildings effectively.
So where did you come from?
I came from New Jersey.
What town?
So I was the director of the East Brunswick Public Library, if you're familiar.
Yep.
It's right in the middle of the state, with Middlesex County. So we did a lot of programming there.
How many different library systems have you worked in? Because you started off in Rochester, New York.
Right, wow, a lot. I worked for the State Library in New Jersey. I was also the head of a multi-system cooperative, which was a nonprofit. I was also the head of the Rochester Public Library, and I worked in a couple of other libraries in the Rochester area. So I have a very diverse background, which is always an asset.
And hopefully
to
you're
bring.
here to stay, and you're
Yes,
not going to want to
I
move
love
on.
Albany. That's what I said at the grand openings when we did, for the branches. I love Albany. It's a wonderful place
But you
to
missed
live.
the lilacs.
Yes, but we have roses
That's
here,
right.
so and
Tulips.
Tulips, yes.
That's right.
How
Well,
would you rate the-
Rochester is called the Lilac City. That's why I mentioned
Mark should be
that.
the historian of New York State. I'm telling you, he knows everything about New York, and he really does. He knows every city here, what they're doing. But you would rate Albany compared to these other, since you've been around, you could really compare the system compared to other cities. I mean, Rochester is a major city in New
In terms
Jersey,
of
I'm sure.
living,
Well, no, just even the library.
the
That's what I was
libraries.
thinking. And the,
I mean, we're much smaller than Rochester, obviously. The Rochester library system, the greater county is probably almost 1 million, where Albany County is about 300,000. And then the library system, those of you who used our catalog may be familiar with the Upper Hudson Library System that we are a part of. So it's 2 counties. Albany and Rensselaer. So between the two, I think it's around 500,000. So in terms of numbers, the bigger the city, the more libraries you have. But it's very nice
Well, we
here.
have 28 libraries in the Upper
That's
Hudson
right.
Library
I'm
system.
so impressed that you know that.
So I did my homework. And I wanted to, but as far as our budget for the Albany City Library, where we pay taxes, what is your budget?
For the
7 or 8 libraries?
7. Well,
yeah.
this includes the bond for the
building.
the building program, so it's a little over 9 million.
$9
$9 million. So
dollars.
if you go look on our webpage, you will see the budget there.
Okay, but that's is that the spending side or that's the income side?
That's both, the spending and the
So you
income.
even
right,
out
right.
at the
The
end of the
bond
year?
payment is about 1.8 million.
For the
So
renovations,
for the
the bonds,
renovations, yes.
Let me ask you something. Trying to make it modern, and I look at a library and I saw the kids, you were saying Kindle, and when you were saying that, I'm glad that you told us about that, because I was like, typically like what you said at the beginning, a library, books, it's a place to get a book. And I didn't know about all these services. But, I know kids with the Kindle, I guess say kids because I'm still reading books over regular books. But, do you have to change maybe your buying power or whatever, your resources to Kindle? Books anyway are getting more and more expensive. It's incredible. When you buy a book, you want to buy a book, it's $25, $30, of a hardcover. So I'm sure the budget went up there too. Are you shifting because of people's reading preferences from hardcovers to, like you say, Kindle or maybe, e-books or whatever they're called, to get more and more,
Yes,
which are cheaper
yes,
probably.
we are. In some ways, you have to. For example, one example is newspapers and magazines. The print is going away. They're going, the print part is going away probably faster than somebody my age would like. I still like to read the hard print,
Sure, me too.
but the younger people, it's all online. So in order to reach that demographic, absolutely, we are buying things that is available online, because that's who's going, that's our future,
And you
are the
had a
kids.
discussion with the Board of Trustees about actually fines and bringing fines in, where the e-books, you don't have any fines.
Yes.
Because you don't have to return something.
Yes.
So whereas now you don't have, now you have trouble collecting the fines for overdue books.
Well,
So-
you know, it's like we don't do anything, like some library systems may send you to a collection agency to collect it, but we have chosen not to do that. So it's only when you come in and you owe materials that we will say, okay, in order to continue using the library, you will have to make good on that.
Can you talk a little bit about the juvenile youth children's card that's going to be rolled out in the summer?
Well, this is, I think this is a wonderful idea for kids. We hate, and you hear these stories where parents are in the library with their children and they say, well, you can't take something out because if you return it late, we may have to pay a fine. So what we're looking at is devising what I call a Netflix model. We will give a child a library card. You can check out 3 books at a time, and when you bring them back, you can check out more. So there isn't that fine that you have to be concerned about. And in certain demographics, you know, you may not have the parent there watching over the child, so we're not penalizing the children. We're giving them the opportunity to use the library.
And what about for those kids who already owe money on it? What about volunteering or having a little, what we call a pushka, a little bottle or something where you could put money in as donations to help, you know, with help the library more with some finances? And you know, when I worked for an organization and we had students who couldn't afford to come to the annual dinner, there were people who maybe couldn't afford to, didn't come, but they would send in a donation, and those donations would add up. You know, $18 here, $20 there, would add up to pay for one of the students, you know, the real cost of the dinner, and I could get students in for free because they were paid by someone
Well, you have
else.
to remember, a library card is free.
Yes.
It's only when you don't return materials or you don't return materials on time. And we work with the individual. If you come in and say, look I lost my book, I'm having trouble paying for it, we will work with you.
But what
We
about having them
want you.
volunteer to work it off with time?
Yes, actually, we do that program, I think, Chris, with the children especially. They come in and they maybe read a certain amount of time to work off some of the fines, or maybe they come and shelve books or do things. So we do try to work with you because our goal, of course, is not to collect money from you, but for you to be able to use the library.
And what about raising the limit of what that fine is before your card is cut off?
You know, that's you were at the board meeting last night where we talked about that. One of the things that we have in place is if you reach a $2 fine with your library card, you're not able to use your card, whether it's to check out materials or to use our computers, and that threshold is very low. If you look at, I mean, what is $2 today? It's nothing.
I check
right.
out movies,
Right.
DVDs from the library. And you know, you give 3 days, if I take out 5 movies, which is the max, and you only give me 3 days to watch it, you know, given I take it out before a holiday weekend, so I get
Yeah.
the extra day.
Yes.
You know, it's tough to watch 5
It is.
movies in those 3 days. So I go online and I renew once, because you can do that online for free. It's very easy. And then you get another 2 days or whatever to watch the movies. But then if you happen to forget or you have trouble getting here, that's a quarter for each one of them. So that's $1.25 for the 5 movies. Now, you know, that you do that 2 days and you're over the limit. And you know, I had $2.25 was my fine, and I paid my debt to society.
Oh,
so
good.
I did.
Think of it as a
squared-
donation to the library.
Absolutely. I came in smiling and no problem, you know.
So that was one of
But,
the things that the board approved last night, was raising the threshold
To
to
$10?
$10, and that will, you know, as you heard us talk about, you get in a catch-22. You know your library books are overdue. You go online
Yeah.
to renew them, and you're blocked because you've reached that $2 threshold so quickly. So we're hoping that will open up doors for people and make it more flexible. That's absolutely our goal, is try to make
Yeah.
it more flexible.
I think one of the things that, and just to add to this, the culture of APL and a lot of libraries, I think for a while has been about obstacles. And so we're kind of in this point where we're looking at how we do things, why we've done things forever the way we've done them, and we're realizing let's lose a little bit of control. You know, at the same time, I mean, Carol has to be concerned about, the fiscal responsibility to the citizens who fund us.
Sure.
So it's not, you can't say, well, come in and there's no rules and there's no responsibility for you as a user, but we're trying to be more
Balanced,
flexible
yeah.
and questioning often, as opposed
One of the
to
things that I was
not at all.
surprised about at the last board meeting was that the board has no idea how much money is taken in from fines, from overdue bills.
Well, they do. They do. They have a sheet, and every month we report how much. You just have to look at it.
I see, because
Yes.
last night it didn't seem like anyone could come up with a
Well,
number.
when last night's discussion was very specific,
Yeah.
how much is coming in from, for example, children's cards.
Right.
If we take away fines from the new type
Yeah.
of children's card, would we be losing how much revenue?
Mm-hmm.
But it isn't. It's a lump line where it's all.
But it doesn't seem like it would be a lot of money.
No, I don't think it would be a lot. no.
Right, so, I mean, I think we're talking in the low thousands, that, if at all, if that much, so. I think in the, $9 million budget, I think you can have that wiggle room there, don't you?
What about the Albany Library? When are you going to be renovated, since you're in charge of it?
Well, we're renovating kind of as we go right now. We've done a number of physical improvements to this building through some state grant money. We improved both of the elevators in this building. They're really nice now, and they were not nice before. We have new carpeting on almost
Most of
two
the
public
floors we've been
entirely.
doing. It's a big job. When you talk about carpeting and you have to move all the books, it's a huge job. So we've gone in and done the worst spots without moving the entire collection.
All right, but I have a suggestion to make, if I may.
Yes.
I know at the Pine Hills and the Bach branch, they have what's called quiet rooms or reading rooms.
Yes.
And in the main library, you don't have that.
We
And I have
don't.
people who I have to meet here in the library.
Yes.
And I feel very bad because you're supposed to be quiet, and I want to talk. And so they were telling me that possibly there's an empty space in the
Yes.
back on the first
Yeah.
floor, and you might be putting in some quiet rooms there. I urge you to do that right here, right now on television, so.
Mark, it's an absolutely great idea. Soon as we built the new branches, this is an old building, and the service model is old. You probably don't think of that when you think of libraries that are service model changes, but it does. And one of the things that people are asking for is quiet space.
Yes.
Because think about it, in the old days, the entire library was quiet. You probably needed a noisy space. But now our culture has changed, and it's more noisy in the library, and people are asking for quiet.
Well, I
Or,
call it a quiet
or-
room because I want to have a conversation
Yes.
that won't interfere with someone
lots
else.
of
so-
tutoring,
Right. That's
lots
right.
of meetings
That's right.
happening.
Tutoring, yeah.
Well, in the reference department on the second floor here, we have tried to change it to a quiet reading room. We let people converse. I hope I haven't yelled at you if you've been talking to me. Yeah, but we're moving there for sure. I mean, we realize that's. I mean, it's funny when Carol says it that way, but really the norm is noisy
All right.
at Albany Public Library's main library.
And you have to get more comfortable chairs in that,
Yes, that's another
in
request.
the main
Yes.
Yeah.
auditorium there that you have.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny. Those chairs are probably very valuable right now because they're so retro.
Well,
but boy, they are not comfortable. I will agree with
and
you.
you have the Council of Area Neighborhood Associations, CANA, that has their meetings
Mm-hmm.
back there. They also do it at the Grissom Center in
Mm-hmm.
Arbor Hill, but they also do it here at the main library. And you have other, elected officials. You had a mayoral
Mm-hmm.
debate at the library. You want people to be comfortable and to feel welcome. So Please. Another
Yes,
suggestion in the
we
city.
are.
Wait, is there a suggestion box that I
Yes,
can put
we
these
do
in?
have a suggestion box in every box
Box.
in every building. Yes, we do
What
have
about
one.
security? I mean, there is a security person in Albany. Is there any, in the main library, which
Yep.
of course we've been saying it's on Washington Avenue. Is there a problem there, or there was a problem where?
Well, I don't think it's really about the safety of the people who come in, the safety of the staff, and the fact that we're extremely busy and anybody can walk in here. And sometimes situations arise, but it's not unsafe. It's not a place that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you walked upstairs right now, there'd be infants to seniors everywhere.
But you
It's-
do have what we call mall cops, and you do have security.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
It
And we-
helps. It helps so that
Well,
the
just
librarians.
the presence. Just the presence
Yes.
helps.
Yes, and all of our branches also provide space for the neighborhood community policing officers
Okay.
to come in and out. I mean, it just gave us an opportunity to kind of get hooked into more of the stuff that goes on in an urban environment.
So I wanted to ask you one other thing about what's going on with the pipes breaking in West Hill, Arbor Hill, Pine Hills.
Cold weather.
Is it all
Yes.
the hills is it the hill libraries that
When
only
we
have
had
hills?
that
Yeah.
cold snap, I think there were a number of pipes breaking all over in the Albany area.
Yeah, but why? I mean, isn't there something that, I mean, that costs a lot of money. You had a janitor's closet that was flooded. You had other things that were, I mean, it costs money to repair and bring it back to the way it was. So,
You know, sometimes things happen,
Yeah, they do,
and
yeah.
then we look at how do we prevent it happening again.
And the answer is? How do
And
you-
the answer is, well, sometimes we call in the contractors to see if we can redesign it. Perhaps with the water pipes near the entrance, perhaps we need to insulate it a little bit better or heat this space a little bit better. But it is, the extreme cold.
and the extreme heat
and the
in the
extreme
summer
heat, yes.
that you had problems with also, in that it's just uncomfortable in the.
So
Okay.
we do our best.
But you're not accepting of it. You're not just accepting
No,
it.
no, we always are looking at improving our systems.
What was your reaction with, you said something at the meeting about the governor's initiative. You were very excited about that.
Yes, yes.
Could you tell me more about that?
Yes, and forgive me, I don't have the exact
That's okay.
details, but it's a proposal that came out of the governor's State of the Address that I believe it's 10% of the graduating seniors that if you are in the top 10%, you will get free tuition if you're going into STEM. Taking STEM, getting a degree in science or math at the SUNY colleges, universities. And I thought, what an opportunity for our children in Albany, and how can the library, we're moving more and more of our programming that we've talked about earlier, we're moving into introducing STEM for the children. Right at 5 years old, we want you to understand that science, math, biology, it's fun. There's a
Okay.
lot of cool things you can do.
Well, I'm sure kids at that age think biology is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll hear more about that in the future. And you also have a line item in the budget for legal services with Whiteman, Osterman, and Hanna.
Yes.
Now, why use one of the biggest law firms in the area? Why not use a firm that's less costly, pricey?
Well, we do go out every 5 years. We do go out and put a request for proposals, and we do that for our auditing services and I believe for the legal services.
And when
So
are you
we do
doing
go.
that next?
I don't know off the top of
you're
my
here
head.
4.5 years. Has it been done in?
I think it was done right before I got
You got here, so it's coming up soon.
It's coming
okay.
up. Yes.
All right, Chris, is there anything else that you wanted to add at the last moments? last
No, I
minutes?
mean, I think
We covered a lot. Mark, you had some
definitely
good
have covered a
questions.
lot. Yeah, no.
So we want to
thank-
think we're out of time, and the time just flew by, but now it's time to read a book. Or maybe I shouldn't say that, after a Kindle book, and there's so many services, really. I was educated in knowing what the library can offer, and I'm sure our viewers are also are or just hopefully they make use of the library. Really, that's the kids should be reading the books and coming, and really that's what I'm sure you want. You want more business. Like any
Absolutely.
business wants more business, but sure, people should come to the library. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Over
You're
here
so
for being on the
informative.
Jewish
Thank you.
Thank you.